Ever walked into a game world and immediately felt the story without anyone actually telling you what happened? That's environmental storytelling at its best, when a game's world and mechanics works together to fill in the blanks. No walls of text, no lengthy expositions, just gameplay doing the heavy lifting. Some games show you a war-torn city with bullet holes and makeshift graves. Others let you piece together the past by interacting with objects, and some just straight up put you in the story through their mechanic. Today we're looking at 10 times games absolutely nailed environmental storytelling through gameplay itself. The very first time you see a little sister in Bioshock, you don't even know what she is. She's this creepy little girl with the glowing eyes, stabbing corpses with syringe like it's totally normal. And right next to her, a hulking deep-sea diving monstrosity called a Big Daddy. You learn their entire dynamic just by watching. The little sister moves with childlike curiosity, singing eerie nursery rhymes while the Big Daddy stomps behind her, ready to rip apart anyone who gets too close. The game doesn't throw in a lore dump explaining why they are connected. Instead, the mechanics shows you. If you even think about harming a little sister, you get a one-way ticket to the respawn chamber. But here's the best part. When the games finally give you the choice whether to harvest the little sister for Adam or save them, you're already emotionally invested. The game made you care through nothing but mechanics and observation. And that's before we even talk about how Rapture itself tells a story. The broken vending machine, abandoned toys, scrawled messages on walls, every inch of this game was designed to let you uncover what happened rather than just dumping expositions. Most post-apocalyptic games tell you that society collapsed. The Last of Us shows you through every environment, and not just in these broad strokes, the overgrown city, the abandoned stores, it's in the little details that really hit home. Walk into an old house and you might find kids' drawings scattered across the floor, toys abandoned in a rush. Open a dresser and there's nothing but dust and a few forgotten shirts. Every place you explore feels like someone was just there, but they're long gone now. One of the best examples of this is the story of Ish, a survivor whose tale is told entirely through the world. You never meet him, but through scattered notes, barricades and makeshift living spaces, you slowly uncover how he tried to build a new society in the sewer, and how it all fell apart. And then there's the infected. Clickers aren't just generic zombies, they are the world's environmental storytelling. A room filled with fungus-covered corpses tell you everything you need to know. Someone got trapped here, they turned, they never made it out. The spores in the air, they're a silent warning, this is where it ends. No cutscenes needed. The game lets you feel the loss, the survival and the desperation of its world without ever spelling it out for you. That's environmental storytelling done right. From the moment you step into Load Run, something feels off. The world is dead, but not empty. It's full of lost souls who have given up, and you don't realize it at first. But that's exactly what could happen to you. Dark Souls has one of the best examples of mechanical storytelling with its hollowing system. Every enemy you fight, they were once like you. Adventurers, knights, shopkeepers, but they lost their will. They died one too many times, stopped trying, and hollow. And the game makes sure you experience that struggle firsthand. Every time you die, you lose a little more. First, it's just your humanity, then it's your patience, and finally, if you're not careful, it's your will to keep going. And that's exactly what happened to the NPCs you meet along the way. Take Solaire, the ever-optimistic Sun Knight. He starts off full of hope, but as the game progresses, he begins to break. And depending on your actions, he might meet a tragic end. Not because the game tells you he's losing hope, but because you see it in his behavior. His dialogue becomes more desperate, his movement sluggish, he's on the same path as every hollow you fought before. The game never stops to explain this. There's no journal entry saying, hey, you'll go hollow if you give up. Instead, it's woven directly into the mechanics. If you quit, you become just another hollow. And that's one of the most powerful ways a game's ever told a story without saying a word. Some games throw you into a world and let you figure out the story, but Inside takes it a step further. There's no dialogue, no text logs, no expositions, just pure environmental and mechanical storytelling. And somehow that makes it even more disturbing. The game starts with you, a nameless boy, sneaking through a dark forest. Right away, the world tells you something is wrong, you're being hunted. Trucks roll by, masked figures patrol with flashlights, and you're just trying to stay hidden. The game never tells you who they are or why they're after you. You just feel the oppression through the way the world reacts to you. Then there's the mind control puzzles. At some point you come across a line of lifeless bodies all marching in perfect sync, and the game forces you to join them, mimicking their movement to avoid detection. That one mechanic alone tells you so much. This is a world where control is everything. You're not just surviving, you're being absorbed into something bigger. And then there's the ending. Without spoiling too much, the moment you become the monster's blob, everything shifts. Suddenly the entire game's mechanic change. You're no longer running and sneaking, you're rampaging. And the way the world reacts to you says everything. Scientists panic, some try to trap you, others help. It's unsettling because the game never tells you how to feel about it. It's a masterclass in silent storytelling, proving you don't need words when the gameplay itself is the narrative. Some games tell story through NPCs, some through set pieces, otherwise tells its story through pure discovery. It rolls you into a tiny solar system, gives you a spaceship and say, go figure it out. And the way it does this, absolutely brilliant. There's no quest log, no mission markers, no waypoint. Every single bit of information you uncover is entirely up to you. One playthrough might lead you to a broken shipwreck buried under the sandstorm of the Hourglass Twins. Another might take you inside a black hole, spinning you out at the other side of the universe. But the best part, time itself is a storyteller. The world resets every 22 minutes, and because of that, you start piecing together patterns. A planet gets eaten away by sand, a dying sun grows larger, a hidden city becomes accessible only at certain moments. One of the most powerful examples of environmental storytelling happens when you realize what the Nomai, an ancient alien race, were trying to do. At first, it seems like they're just another lost civilization, but as you dig deeper, you uncover the desperate attempts to prevent the very thing you are experiencing. And the final moments of the game, they hit hard because you earned them. Every piece of knowledge wasn't handed to you, it was discovered. The game's biggest twist isn't just a part of the story, it's the moment you understand it. That's environmental storytelling done perfectly. As usual, in the middle of the video, I want to ask you guys to like, subscribe, leave a comment, share with your friends. It helped the channel a lot. And let's continue with the list. Half-Life 2 doesn't just tell you that the Combine have conquered Earth, it shows you through the world's design. The very first moment of the game makes this clear. You step off a train into City 17 and immediately you're being watched. Giant screens project the face of Dr. Breen, the leader of humanity under Combine rule, delivering propaganda speeches that no one seems to care about. Citizens shuffle through the streets heads down, too afraid to fight back. Security drones snap photos of you. It's dystopia in motion, and you're just another cog in the machine. And then there's the gravity gun. At first, it's a fun physics toy, cool for throwing crates around. But as the game progresses, it becomes something more. You start using it to fight back, weaponizing the world itself. And in the final act, the game flipped the script. Suddenly, the gravity gun becomes overpowered, turning Combined soldiers into ragdoll. The thing they used to control the world, now it's your tool of destruction. And the best part, the game never says this outright. It doesn't pause to give you a "now you're the powerful one" speech. It just lets you feel it through the mechanics. That's how you do environmental storytelling, by making the player experience the shift in power. In Red Dead Redemption 2, Rockstar doesn't just build an open world, they build a living world, one where time marches on whether you're there to see it or not. Walk into a shop and you see shopkeepers stocking their shelves, travelers setting up camps, and strangers having full conversations that don't involve you. And what's even more impressive, these aren't just scripted events, they are part of a world that remembers. One of the most powerful ways the game tells its story is through Arthur Morgan's health. If you ignore it, he visibly wastes away, his face grows paler, his cough worsens, and NPCs comment on how sick he looks. And when he's diagnosed with tuberculosis, the game subtly changes, not just in the dialogue but in the way Arthur moves. He struggles more, he loses weight, even his horse reacts to him differently. And let's talk about those random encounters. Ever helped a stranger out on the road? Later on they might recognize you in town and pay for your supplies. Ever shot someone in cold blood? The local newspaper might report on it. The world adapts to your actions, reinforcing the idea that Arthur's story isn't just about him, it's about how he fits into a rapidly changing America. It's an open world game where you are the one trying to keep up with the world, not the other way around. And that makes the inevitable end of Arthur's journey all the more heartbreaking. SOMA isn't about jump scares, it's about something way scarier, the fear of losing what makes you, you. At first, it seems like a typical sci-fi horror setup. You wake up in an underwater research facility and things have clearly gone very wrong. The power is flickering, the walls are cracked, and robotic creatures seems oddly human. But the real horror sets in when you start interacting with them. You find a machine begging for help in a human voice. You unplug it and it screams. Then you find audio logs of scientists who think they're still alive, except their bodies are gone. Their minds have been transferred into machines, but they don't realize it. And then the game hits you with a question. If you upload your consciousness into a new body, is it still you? The game forces you to confront this multiple times, transferring from body to body, but always leaving behind a copy of yourself. That old version? It's still conscious, it's still there, and sometimes you have to decide what to do with it. Do you leave it behind, knowing it will eventually realize it's been abandoned? Do you shut it down, essentially killing an earlier version of yourselves? SOMA never tells you what's right or wrong, it just makes you feel it. And that's what makes its storytelling so haunting. It isn't just about surviving, it's about questioning whether you were ever really you to begin with. Shadow of the Colossus plays a trick on you. At first it feels like a standard hero story. You're on a quest to save a loved one, armed with a sword, a horse, and the task of slaying giant creatures. But as you play, something feels off. Each Colossus isn't some mindless monster. They are peaceful, majestic, and often not even hostile until you attack them. Some even try to escape, and yet you're told to kill them. And the game makes sure you feel every single kill. There's no triumphant music, no fanfare. Instead, there's this haunting silence as the Colossus collapses, followed by eerie slow-motion shots of it falling to the ground. Then black tendrils emerge and force themselves into you, draining something from you. And the world itself reacts to your action. The once bright landscapes grows darker, your character physically deteriorates, you start looking more like the evil you unleashed. And by the time you realize the truth, that you were the villain all along, it's too late. Shadow of the Colossus never tells you directly that what you're doing is wrong. Instead, it lets the world show you, and by the time you see the full picture, all that's left is the weight of your own choices. Most games slap a health bar and ammo counter on the screen and call it a day. Dead Space, it integrates its UI into the world itself, making it a part of the game's storytelling and horror. Everything in Dead Space is digitic, meaning it exists in the game world. Isaac's health bar is built directly into his suit, a glowing spine indicator that dims as he takes damage. His inventory and map, they're holographic projections that he physically interacts with, visible to both him and the player. There are no traditional pause menus or floating HUD elements because Isaac is just as vulnerable as you are. And that's where the horror sets in. When you check your inventory, the game doesn't stop. Necromorphs can still ambush you. When you open a door, there's no loading screen, just the unsettling hiss of decompression as it slowly grinds open, making you wait in tension. Even the save stations are woven into the world as physical terminals, reinforcing that everything you do is happening in real time. It's a constant reminder that you're not playing as some omniscient hero, you're just an engineer trying to survive in a ship that has turned against you. By making every UI element part of the environment, Dead Space doesn't just tell its story, it traps you inside it. And that's the beauty of environmental storytelling through mechanics. Games don't need lengthy expositions or lore dumps when the world itself can tell the story. Whether it's a broken city that speaks of past tragedies, a gameplay mechanic that reinforces the theme, or an entire world that reacts to your presence, the best games make you an active participant in their storytelling. But we've only scratched the surface, there are so many more incredible examples out there. So what are your favorites? Let us know in the comments, and if you like this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to The Gaming Mattress for more breakdowns of the best storytelling in gaming. And thank you so much for watching up until now. I'll see you next time, and don't forget, enjoy your games.